Where can you get information on the latest news and events in Dickson County? Right here on Know Your County on WDKN 1260 AM and 101.5 The 1 FM. Know Your County keeps you informed about events that matter to you. Now, here is your host for today's Know Your County.
Good morning and welcome to Know Your County right here on WDKN. Today is Saturday, June the 11th, 2022, and I am your host, Justin Spurlock. And today we have a great show for you. We have Michael Shepard from the Downtown Dickson Association is going to stop by here in the studio in just a little bit, and he's going to explain to us a little bit about the Dickson Street Festival, which is happening 2 weeks from today, and they've pretty much nailed down all the details, and he's going to stop by and tell us all about what to expect when you come to downtown Dickson 2 weeks from today to take part in the second annual Dickson Street Festival. And like I said, he's got all of the details. But I want to tell you about an event that's going on today right here in Dickson County, and that's Ernest Day out at Montgomery Bell State Park. And I've had some people asking me, what exactly is Ernest Day? Well, back in the 80s, out at Montgomery Bell State Park, they filmed a movie called Ernest Goes to Camp. And that movie was considered a hit, and it was part of a series of movies starring Jim Varney, who played the character of Ernest. And as far as I know, it's the only Hollywood movie that's ever been filmed here inside of Dickson County, and so they're going to have a special event tomorrow just to celebrate the fact that the movie was made out there, and you'll have a chance to actually see the movie. But I wanted to explain, because I've kind of been fascinated by this movie a little bit. I grew up in that era when the Ernest movies were popular, and definitely watched the movie growing up, and just kind of wanted to fill everybody in a little bit about Jim Varney and Ernest for those who don't know. Well, Jim Varney, he was born in Lexington, Kentucky, and he wanted to be an actor when he was young, and so he moved out to L.A. in the 1970s, and he sort of struggled like many actors do when they first get out to LA, and he didn't really get a whole lot of roles. Now, he did find some success as a stand-up comedian, but never really made it out in Hollywood. So by 1980, he had left California and he had moved back home. But there was an advertising agent in Nashville named John Cherry who had seen some of Varney's work, a series of old TV commercials that Jim Varney had done while he was in L.A. in the 1970s. And John Cherry wanted to hire Jim Varney to play a character that he had sort of written or invented named Ernest, and he wanted Jim Varney to play this character in TV commercials. And so Jim Varney comes down to Nashville, and he starts to create this character of Ernest, and he starts starring in in TV commercials all around Nashville, and the character sort of goes viral, and he starts filming hundreds of TV commercials all across the United States for various companies. And I had read somewhere where it said that he was the first viral star. Like today, people go viral on the internet, right? Well, before the internet even existed, Jim Varney sort of went viral in his own way, and he ended up becoming a spokesman for many, many companies all across the United States. And by 1986, there were some talks about possibly making an Ernest movie. The character had become so popular, some people were, thinking that maybe it was time to see Ernest on the big screen. And in 1986, since Jim Varney, the guy who played the Ernest character, was based out of Nashville, and he had worked for John Cherry, who was an advertising agent there in Nashville. They wanted to create a movie, and the movie was called Ernest Goes to Camp, and they needed a location of a park, of a place where they could film a movie about a camp. And as they, I guess, start looking around the Nashville area, they chose to film out here in Dickson County at Montgomery Bell State Park. And pretty much all of the movie was filmed out at the park, and it actually cost $3.5 million was the budget to make that film. And of course, in Hollywood terms, that's considered pretty cheap. But the movie was a hit. It actually made over $23 million. So they got their money back and then made millions. So Varney was seen as a movie star after this, and he went on to star in several Ernest sequels, including one called Ernest Goes to Jail, which was filmed there in Nashville at the old Tennessee State Prison or Penitentiary, the castle as they call it. That's where Ernest Goes to Jail was shot, and so he went on to make several different Ernest movies over the years. And in the 90s, he got a few more roles. Jim Varney went on to play in the Beverly Hillbillies. If you remember that movie, it was released in 1993. Jim Varney played Jed Clampett. That movie was also a success, made about $57 million. And then 2 years later, in 1995, Jim Varney was involved in Toy Story. Now, I don't know if you remember this, but in Toy Story, there's a character, the Slinky dog, the toy dog, that's also a Slinky. Well, Jim Varney played that character. I guess he was the voice of that character. And so he, got some pretty big roles there in the 1990s. Toy Story went on to gross, $363 million. And so Jim Varney sort of started off making commercials and then got his big break in the movie Ernest Goes to Camp, which was filmed right here in Dickson County, Montgomery Bell State Park. And then he went on to star in several big Hollywood movies. Unfortunately, he ended up passing away in the year 2000. He developed lung cancer from smoking, and it says here that when he died, he was living at a home in White House, Tennessee, so just right outside of north of Nashville there. He had made his home here in the Nashville area, starred in several movies that were filmed around here, and so that's sort of the backstory about Ernest Goes to Camp. And again, they'll be having a big event out there today out at Montgomery Bell State Park. It all starts at 2 o'clock. And so from 2 to 5, they'll be having some different activities. It says here that some different activities will be announced, but possibly some face painting, tattoos, stickers, archery, a Birds of Prey program with Ranger Tim. Also, there's going to be turtle catapulting. And it says no turtles will be harmed at this event. So turtle catapulting will be going on today out at Montgomery Bell State Park. There will also be some nature hikes, and then at 7 o'clock, there's going to be an Ernest look-alike contest. So if you think you look like Ernest, or if you want to take on the challenge of trying to look like Ernest, there's going to be a lot of Ernest look-alikes out at the park. And so there's going to be a contest there at 7 o'clock. And then at 7:30 p.m. tonight, there's going to be a question and answer session with actors from the Ernest franchise. And it says here that guest speakers may be subject to change, but there's going to be several of the people who starred in the movie are going to make their way out to Montgomery Bell State Park tonight, and they'll be there to have a question and answer session. And then after that, at approximately 8:30 p.m., they're going to play the Ernest Goes to Camp movie. Will be shown outside at the film's location there at Montgomery Bell State Park. And it says to bring a blanket or chair, make yourself comfortable, and watch the movie under the stars. The event is free. However, donations are always accepted, and there will be some concessions available along with t-shirts and maybe some other things to buy. So if you are interested in attending Ernest Day out at Montgomery Bell State Park, all of that's going to start at 2 o'clock today. So go by the park and check that out. We're going to take our first commercial break, and we'll be right back here on WDKN. And we're back here on WDKN. You're listening to Know Your County, and I'm now joined in the studio by my good friend Michael Shepard, who represents the Downtown Dickson Association. He's going to tell us a little bit about the Dickson Street Festival, which is 2 weeks away. So go ahead and mark your calendars. Go ahead and make plans to be here. And my understanding is you guys have pretty much got the details worked out. Can you share some of those things with us?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Justin, for having me in. Like you said, my name is Michael Shepard. I'm the event coordinator for the Downtown Dickson Association. We have quite a crew of people working on this thing. I'm kind of taking point on picking up vendors and bands and things like that. But we've also got a marketing representative and a membership representative, and of course a president, vice president, and treasurer and secretary as well that have all kind of played their role in getting things done. Putting on a festival for well over 7,000-8,000 people is no easy task. So it's been about 6 months in the planning, working with everybody from the vendors to bands from all over the state, to the city, to a firework company, bouncy houses. There's just a lot of moving parts and pieces. So I just kind of want to first thank everybody that has been involved, along with other people from the association, volunteers, and the mayor and Rydell Wesson and everybody over there at the city as well too. They've all been really supportive and helpful and have played a big role. So, but yeah, the basic overall of the festival is it's June 25th. Timeline is the festival's timeline is from noon to pretty much 9:30 or 10. I guess just a PSA for everybody on that day. We're going to be closing down the following streets starting at about 5 o'clock in the morning. We're closing down North Main, all of North Main, all of South Main, Railroad and Water Street over there on either side of the railroad tracks, and then the opposite side of North and South Main, kind of on that bend there across from the old Nick's Hardware lot, those two streets right there. And we've also got full access to the Mulberry Mill parking lot. And we're closing down Walnut Street as well too, like they do for Old Timers Day. And then we're also closing down, I guess, the other side of South Main across Walnut Street behind the chamber and in front of the police department, right there where the gospel stage is, and that's where the buck dancers are going to be. So but yeah, so as far as the roads being closed, those are those roads, so just kind of be aware of that. Our vendor load-in time is going to be from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. So there's going to be a lot of moving parts and pieces going on between those 3 hours. We're going to be sending all of our North Main vendors up College to take a left or to a right, whatever direction they're coming from, down North Main, and they're going to exit on Water Street or Railroad Street right there. And then we're sending all of our South Main vendors down Walnut and up the tail end of South Main, going the wrong direction, and we're going to send them out those alleys right there, kind of next to Lugo's and in between that building right across the street. So just beware, there's going to be over 100 vendors coming in and out that day. They're going to be parking all over downtown. Thank goodness we've got plenty of parking now with that big city lot and a couple other lots around town. So but basic overall view of the festival is it's noon to about 9:30 or 10. We're going to have bands all day. So there's 3 band stages, and then of course the gospel stage down on South Main with the buck dancers. But we're going to have bands every hour on the hour on North Main. The stage is going to go right over there across in between Pumphrey's and Wyckoff Park. We're going to have bands. The first couple bands are rotating from North to South Main. Then the South Main stage is, of course, the House of Brews stage right there. And we'll have a couple bands rotate the first couple hours of the day, and then we're going to have different bands throughout the rest of the day. So those bands are going to run on Main Street from noon to 6 o'clock. To be finished at 7. They're 45-minute sets for each band. We've got them from all over the state, with some local acts as well too. I think that schedule's been published. I know it was in the Herald. I don't know if the Post has published theirs yet or not. I did give them the information, so they should be publishing it soon if they haven't. Like I said, we're going to have over 100 different types of vendors. We've got craft vendors. We've got boutique vendors. Woodworkers, I think a glass blowing guy, lots of crafts and t-shirts and mugs and things like that as well too, candles, and they're going to run from the North Main stage, which there's also going to be a beer garden there next to Pumphrey and Beard, and they're going to run all the way to the end of South Main. So we're going to have the whole streets loaded with vendors. There's a beer garden in front of Pumphrey's. There's going to be a beer garden in front of Furnace Brewery, and then of course Dan and Sharon are going to have their big beer garden in between House of Brews and House of Vines. So plenty of alcohol. They're going to be fenced off, so you can't just walk around with alcohol. but you can get different types of alcohol from those 3 places. We're gonna have we've got over a dozen food trucks, and we're gonna have those kind of spread out too. But their main locale is gonna be on the north side of the railroad tracks on either side of South Main on those 2 streets. So we're gonna line them up down the road right there, and we're also gonna put a couple on either Walnut Street or that portion of South Main over there to kind of cater to those watching the buck dancers. Then we're going to have, starting after the bands on Main finish, I've instructed the vendors that if they want to leave, they can leave at that point. I had a lot of concern about it getting dark and then packing up, so I just told them that the bands finished at 7 on North and South Main, and if they wanted to leave, they could. The food trucks, most of them are planning on staying till 9:30 or so we should be able to have some good eats all throughout the night. Starting at 6 o'clock at Holland Park, well, I'll back up just a little bit. At Holland Park for the day, there is an art show of sorts. I think they're going to be there from noon to 4 to pack out at 4. And then starting at 5, the Quest Center is going to start doing their sound check at about 5 o'clock. So they've been practicing for months for this. And I'm really excited to hear them play. So their set starts at 6 to 6:45. And then I've got a band called the Naked Gypsy Queens coming out of Nashville. They're kind of an up-and-coming, kind of a rock band, but not hard rock. They're super good. It's a friend of mine is their manager, and so they agreed to come play for us, and I think they're going to really rock the house. And then immediately following that is a local favorite, Groove Cruise. So it's Zach Brooks and his buddies are going to play there. So I enjoy a good funk band, and I think that the community is going to really support all those bands over there. And so they're going to play from 8 to 9, and immediately following that, around 9:15, we're shooting fireworks off like we did last year. So those fireworks are going to be shot from the same place. I tried to find some alternative places a little bit closer, but there's some city ordinances that are in place that wouldn't allow us to do that this year, but we're going to have some talks to see if maybe we can have a better position next year, but who knows how that's going to go. But overall, yeah, so it's noon to 6, music all day long, over 100 vendors, food trucks, both sweet and savory, from all over. We've got some local ones. We've got some coming from Columbia, some coming from Nashville, some kettle corn guys, some lemonade people, ice creams, of course. So we're gonna satisfy all your taste buds, and also we've kind of doubled up on how many porta potties we're gonna have. And I'm really jockeying for an 8-stall indoor trailer porta potty. So right now, we spent a pretty significant amount of money on everything to get this to happen. And we've got enough sponsors right now to cover pretty much everything. And our only really outstanding is that bathroom. It's like $2,200 for that bathroom. So if anybody out there is listening and they want to sponsor a comfortable bathroom for the women and children at the street fair, that would be lovely. You can just contact me on my email, ddixonA@gmail.com. I did forget to mention too, we're having 3 total kid zones as well, and a dunk tank. So there's going to be a dunk tank and a bouncy house at the old bank, First National Bank. And then there's also going to be a bouncy house in Mulberry Mill, not in Mulberry Mill, in the parking lot, the top corner of the parking lot, close to where the food trucks are. And then there's going to be a bouncy house and an obstacle course slide bouncy house, and then one of those carnival hammer slammer games, where the weight goes up, you hit the bottom, the weight goes up. That's going to be on Walnut Street. So we'll have the kid zones all spread out. That way it's not just craziness in one spot. And it'll also attract people all over Main Street, so you're not really just focusing or honing in on a specific part of Main Street for the kids or whatever it may be. We're also going to have a face painter and balloon artist as well, too, as to where their location is going to be. That's a little undecided. We've got a couple different spots where we may place them, but they will be there as well, too. So that's pretty much everything going on with it. It's going to be an amazing time. We're expecting in between 7,000 and 10,000 people. I think we had close to 7 or 8 last year, and we're getting a lot of good traction on this as far as marketing goes, and people recognizing it and asking questions about it. So I think it's going to be a good turnout.
We've got Michael Shepard here in the studio with us this morning talking all about the Dixon Street Festival, which is going to take place 2 weeks from now. Let's go ahead and take another break, and we'll be right back here on WDKN. And we're back here on WDKN. I've got Michael Shepard here in the studio with me, and we're talking all about the Dixon Street Festival. And Michael, let's talk just a little bit before you get out of here, before the show ends. We're almost here at the end, but talk to me a little bit about this festival, because I feel like this has really become a great event, and it's become really a destination for folks in the summer, and it just seems to be getting better. Talk to me about the evolution of the Dixon Street Festival.
Absolutely, yeah. The evolution, I mean, this is year 2 we've had it. DDA has really only been full steam ahead for the past 2 or 3 years. So we're kind of chipping away and learning as we go, flying by the seat of our pants, and we're going to mess up. There's going to be some things that people don't like. There's going to be things that people do like, and we recognize that, and we're listening as well too. It's going to take some time to really have this thing evolve into a well-oiled machine, but we're doing our best on that. But DDA in general, as well as some other groups around town, really shining a light on Dixon. We try to do an event at least once a month. Our larger events are going to be St. Patty's Day that happened in March, and then we're throwing some movies in the park in at Holland Park every now and then. We're going to do those once a month. We're not doing one in June because of the street festival. And then, of course, you've got Old Timers Day that's going to come up in September, and then after that it's Boo Fest, and then after that it's going to be the Christmas downtown and the parade and things like that as well too. It's just we are attracting a bunch of people from out of town as well. I mean, obviously people who live here, their whole family is not. They don't all live here, so they've got relatives and stuff that come from out of town, and I've talked to several people where they've got family coming from different states and things like that to spend a weekend, So it provides an opportunity and an excuse for, distant relatives to come in town as well, too, to come and maybe stay a weekend at their family's house and go to this event or go to whatever event and spend some time in this town. And it also provides a lot of tourism dollars as well too. You've got tax dollars and tourism dollars to the hotels and the shops around here. Most of the all of the Main Street businesses are all locally owned businesses too. So, you're keeping a lot of your dollars here, as well as other people bringing their money from out of town and keeping it here as well too. And, I think that just kind of goes to bode because, last time I heard the mayor speak, we've got a pretty robust budget, and we're doing really well financially as a city and a county as well too. So I think, it's events like these. I mean, the city invested, to invest, around $5 million and a little bit more in the downtown revitalizations. And so I'd had a meeting with the city, and I posed the question to them, what's the plan for the ROI on this investment? What needs to be done in order to make sure the city kind of gets their money back, and it's worth those millions of dollars they're putting downtown. And it's things like these and other attractions downtown that happen, not just on a festival basis, but things that like trivia and things like that happen at Furnace, and the bands at House of Brews, and things that Elizabeth and some other people are doing as well too, and Amanda. It's things like those that just little special events. It's, if you keep tapping, it's just eyes on Dixon. One of the biggest and most profitable sales tactics. You don't necessarily have to have the best product. You don't necessarily have the best pitch, but if you just have attention, just good vibes type attention, whatever it may be, you're just constantly tapping away at people and just letting them know that, hey, this is Dixon. Really cool things happen here. There's great people here. There's good music, the proximity to Nashville, so we're able to pull some talent as well too. So just overall, even on just an annual basis with everything that a lot of these organizations are doing in Dixon, I think is nothing but good stuff.
Well, that's going to do it for us here on Know Your County. We want to thank everybody for listening. Don't forget about Ernest Day going on at 2 p.m. out at Montgomery Bell State Park right here in Dixon County. They're going to celebrate Ernest Goes to Camp, the movie that was filmed out there, and all the action starts at 2 o'clock, and they're going to show the movie out there at the park tonight. So if you're interested in doing that, just know that that's taking place today. Again, thanks to everybody for listening to the show. I'll be back next week with a new guest on the Old Timer Show, and we'll be back with another episode of Know Your County right here on WDK.